So Dean's job, Dean has two jobs, right? It's to keep everybody's license and to keep us all from getting sued, and he does a great job of that. There was a lawsuit, and it will probably turn into a class action lawsuit. It started in Florida, where brokerages down there were charging a brokerage fee in addition to the commission. So a bunch of people got together and wanted more money, so they came after the brokerage. We want to remind everybody that we do not charge a brokerage fee. Please do not tell title that we charge a brokerage fee when actually it is you charging a TC fee because that's not cool. So we revised our buyer broker agreement, the buyer broker disclosure to state that KWW, one more, Talina. Oh. I think that there's one more. Yeah. KW Westfield does not charge a brokerage fee. Note that your agent or team may charge a fee for additional real estate services rendered, such as a TC fee. Just do not call it a brokerage fee because we don't want to be added to that class action lawsuit. Do you have any questions on that? This form is in Command, so when you go to send your documents to your client, you can download it from Command. It's there for you already. And I believe it's also in Lone Wolf. You can get it from there. Any questions on that? Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Give it up for Nobly, everybody. She's awesome. All right. And then you want to move him to the end? Okay, we'll just start with Shoni and then. Oh, he's back. All right, we'll do it. We'll do it after Shoni. You're good. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So we were having our executive leadership team meeting yesterday, and we were talking about this principle from Tony Robbins has a course called Business Mastery. And he talks about the 7 areas of business that we should focus on, basically strategic strategies that can help you grow a business. And one of the principles is this little kind of mental frame that he has, which is called Can I? Does anybody remember from past trainings what CANI stands for? And if not, I recommend you write this down because it should be a core business strategy that you deploy and memorize. You remember it, Courtney? Okay. It stands for constant and never-ending improvement of your business. How many of you can remember or recall a business that was once a massive industry or business in our space that is no longer alive today? Shout out some names. Blockbuster. Did anybody remember going to Blockbuster on Friday night and picking out the movie, right? What an experience. What else? Redbox. Migrating out. Kodak. Does anybody remember a company called Kmart? Right? Sears. What do we learn from those organizations? Toys R Us, kind of making a revive. Adapt or die. Yeah. My perception is that the lesson we can learn is that if you ever get comfortable, your seat can get taken, right? I think that a lot of those organizations saw themselves, and in fact, actually, does anybody remember or use a company called Netflix today? Okay. Do you know who Netflix went and made an offer and said, will you buy us? Will you acquire us? They asked Blockbuster to acquire them for $50 million? $50 million. Somebody Google how much Netflix is worth today, because Blockbuster passed on it and said, no, thanks. Right. And so this principle, we were talking about this yesterday in our leadership meeting of just how we are focused on always evolving and adjusting the value that we provide to you as agents. My hope is that you do the same thing for your clients, saying the status quo, what I've been doing over the last 5 years or 10 years has been good, but how do I improve and make it even better, right? How do I consistently improve my services? And Addison, one of our team members, mentioned this book, which sparked a memory for me. Has anybody read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? 2 of you? Okay. Highly recommend. It's a two hour read max. Like it's very quick to get through, but it has some really good principles in it. And I read this early on in my sales career, probably 13, 14 years ago now. And it was this kind of reminder for me on just some sound principles when it comes to being adaptable and shifting. And so I'm going to play just a quick 2.5 minute video for those who haven't read the book. I'm going to basically give you the book in like 2.5 minutes. And then we're going to have a mastermind on this topic today, talking about the shifts and changes that are happening in our industry. And collectively, we'll come up with some ideas on how we think we can best prepare for those changes and be adaptable in this time. So we'll go ahead and play this video.
Who Moved My Cheese is about dealing with change in your work and in your life. Cheese being a metaphor for what you want in life. Everyone has their own idea what cheese means to them, and we go after it because it makes us happy. The maze in the story represents where you look for your cheese, or happiness. Your cheese is always changing, and you should not get comfortable in relying on your cheese to always be how or where you left it. In doing so will help you deal with change and bring you greater success, no matter how you define success for yourself. The 4 characters in the story represent parts of us, and it's up to you to identify which parts you are now and which you would rather be from now on. There's 2 mice who don't overthink everything and just get on with life. Sniff constantly sniffs out the change and is ready for it. Scurry goes into action immediately without needing to know all the information. Then there's 2 little people, really smart people who've done well for themselves so far. Hem, he likes to stay in a safe, familiar territory. And Haw, who's slow to adapt to change but is open-minded. Sniff and Scurry go out and seek new cheese every day. Hem and Haw comfortably rely on their past knowledge and experience and assure themselves the cheese will be right where they left it. Hem and Haw even moved their house closer to their cheese and built a social life around it. They became so comfortable they didn't even notice what was happening. Sniff and Scurry noticed the cheese was diminishing and that one day it wasn't there. But they were not surprised. They were prepared and knew what to do. The situation had changed, so they decided to change. They sniffed and scurried in search of new cheese. Hem and Haw had not been paying attention to the changes. They took it for granted and were unprepared. How could this have happened, they thought. Nobody warned them. They wanted to believe somebody moved their cheese and didn't want to believe that they had failed to notice it getting smaller and smaller every day. Hem's complicated brain and deep belief system demanded to know why this had been done to him. While Hem and Haw were busy worrying about what happened to them, Sniff and Scurry were already out finding new cheese in uncharted territory, and it didn't take long before they found new cheese and started enjoying life again. Hem and Haw remained bitter and angry about not having their old cheese, complaining how life was unfair to them. They got used to being comfortable and were now afraid to go find new cheese. They got stuck in a habit of doing the same things over and over again and wondering why things didn't get better. Eventually, Haw realized the cheese was never coming back and may have to face his fears and go find new cheese. He finally stopped blaming others and took responsibility for himself. After all, it is safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless situation. As Haw enjoyed his newfound cheese, he reflected on past mistakes and realized nothing got better until he changed. He didn't like it at the time, but the change was a blessing in disguise. Hem was too stubborn, or proud, or just simply unwilling to change. Nobody knows what became of Hem.
So this story is all about anticipation and being aware of the reality that changes happen. If you want to refresh the slides for me. One of the books I mentioned many times that Gary Keller actually originally recommended is a book called Only the Paranoid Survive, which you don't need to go read it. It just, the whole title really tells you the purpose, which is that we don't need to look at the worst case scenario and worry about it. What we need to do is hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. We need to prepare for the downside, right? And in this topic for today, what I want to talk about is actually some, I think, positive changes that are happening. The three core areas of our industry that I think are being impacted right now by all the changes in the world is number one, I think there's a massive change that's happening with client expectations, right? How many of you feel that your clients are wanting more value and more support than ever before, right? And also that your business is probably asking more time from you and asking for you to do more things than you did in the past. And so client expectations is a moving target, right? And so we always have to be aware of what is valuable to the buyer or the seller. What can we change about our service that ensures we're valuable in their mind, right? Their perception. The second area I believe that has a massive impact right now is AI, right? Technology is changing a lot of the deliverables of an agent's business. And so when that shifts, how are we actually adapting and saying, well, what is our actual value proposition in this new world? And then the third area is just time, right? How many of you feel that even though you have so many more efficiencies in your life, right? You can get food on demand, you get packages delivered to your house in 2 hours, right? All of these different pieces, but yet you still feel like you have less time in your life, right? That you're always busy or that you always have more to do. And so I think that there's what has happened is that it's not that we actually have less time, right? Our 24 hours has stayed the same, but priorities have shifted immensely over the last decade. And so there's more things that are calling for your attention and for your time. And so we have to get back to having this lens of what's purposeful, what's important, what's actually a priority, and really being effective with our time. So those are the three areas that we're going to mastermind on today. But the kind of takeaways from this book is number one, pay attention before the cheese disappears. Change almost always leaves clues in advance. And so if we can see that there's change happening, we just need to be in tune and be aware of it. And that is gives us this opportunity to learn through the shifts that are happening. Number two is don't confuse what worked before with what will work next. Okay. Don't confuse what will work or what has worked before with what will work next. Number three is movement creates information. You rarely find the next opportunity standing still. So oftentimes we just have to get started. Like we just have to test out new strategies, new approaches, and see what works and what doesn't. And so part of being adaptable is saying, I'm okay with learning. I'm okay with being a student and knowing that I might fail in some of the strategies that I deploy, but I'm going to learn through those failures. And number four is the longer you defend the old cheese, the more expensive the change becomes. Okay. So the longer you delay making your own internal changes, the more expensive or painful the change is going to ultimately be. Okay. Because then you're playing catch up, right? So what we're going to do through this process, well, this is a great piece from that video. This is expect change to happen, look for it, and be ready. So it's all about anticipation. I believe that real estate is not disappearing, right? So we are not worried about our space completely being turned upside down overnight, but the reality is that there is change happening, right? There's this undercurrent of change that's taking place. And so the source of value is what I think is moving. I think that subtly right now, what's happening is the consumer, the buyer and the seller are actually inspecting the value of what is valuable in a real estate agent's relationship, right? We saw this happen with the massive lawsuit that happened a couple years back, right? That changed the landscape of how we communicate value to buyers and sellers as well. So client expectations are changing, technology is changing, your time dynamics changing. Those are the things that we want to really talk about and figure out what are some of the strategies that we can get behind that can help us really build a solid foundation for the next 5 years. My thought with this is this idea of real estate 2030. What does it look like to be a real estate agent in the year 2030? It's not that far away, but a lot of change is going to happen in that timeline, right? And so if we actually start anticipating that now, we are the ones that have the strategic edge in that change. So what we're going to do is break into groups. You'll see these little boards around the room. You're going to be in groups of 5 to 7, and we're going to mastermind on a few different topics. There's going to be some questions that we'll throw up on here. So for example, this is the primary question. So for the client experience of the future, 5 years out, what will clients expect before, during, and after a transaction that would make today's typical experience feel outdated? Okay. So that's one question that you'll mastermind. There's some discussion topics down below that can kind of help with idea generation or thought joggers. And we'll just go through these three primary areas. We're going to start with the client experience, and then we'll move into technology and talk about AI and the human advantage. And then we'll end with the high efficiency model. So how do we be more effective with our time? Okay. So everybody stand up and go ahead and find a whiteboard, no more than 5 to 7 people at a given board, and we'll bring around some markers. But you're going to just mastermind and have a conversation about this. And again, there's some additional questions on the slides that you can use as a reference. Okay. You'll have 7 minutes, and then we'll pause and talk through these as a group. We'll have 7 minutes. Okay. We're gonna pause here. If you can hear me, raise your hand. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Awesome. Okay, so let's do this. Brittany's gonna run the mic for us. We're gonna start with this back table here with Amber, with her group, and we'd love to hear some of the things that you guys talked about. And we're gonna keep this short because we have 2 other topics to mastermind on. So just kind of synthesize for us, what were some of the talking points or things that you guys feel like is going to be very different in the next couple of years?
Okay. Our 2 biggest ones are the speed of the transaction. They're not going to be 30 days anymore. It's like, okay, you got to have your lender Sheila's just saying that the lenders are ready in 10 days. Why are we sticking around waiting for 30? So we think they're going to go a lot faster. And then, we had a bunch, but the other top one was, we don't think you're going to still have to have the personal experience. We talked about like virtual staging and all that kind of stuff, and maybe virtual walkthroughs eventually, but you still need to have the experience and maybe go through and, like you were saying, you can't smell VR, when you're in VR, you can't smell it or whatever. So some of that's still going to have to be the same, but it's going to be amped up, and they are going to expect more and more of us to bring to the table.
Wouldn't that be nice to have 10-day closing turnarounds?
Yeah.
Right? Just be the standard. Right?
She said that's usually kind of the longest. So you get that in a good title.
Get the AI appraisal, we're there.
And that's a good thing for you to be thinking about, is how can you almost start expecting that from your lender and start pushing them in that direction? And is your system set up that way, right? Are you set up to be able to help a client do that in 10 days? Because that also makes your offers more strategic and favorable as well to the listings. So that's great. We'll go to this group. Marilee?
Okay. Yeah. So we were just talking about the more and more value on the human experience, because even as technology gets more and more sterile and more efficient, people still want that human interaction. And even though, the younger kids might be more apt to want the technology and things more streamlined, those are the least likely people to be buying a house. So we feel like as technology takes over and AI and all these different aspects of making the transaction more streamlined and more efficient, I think the need for the human interaction is going to increase.
So we're going to be more purposeful in our
Yes.
relationship building. Love it. Great. Terry?
Okay, so similar, we really talked about how the personal interactions are going to increase, but AI will help with the operations of our business. And I loved one of our guys said, just think about what the Jetsons had and try to project that out into, what type of things could we look forward to in the technology. Jetsons, we're already starting to see the robots coming into our lives. So what else is there? And then same thing, like we bring the showings to the home buyers, just like Amazon has brought shopping to our home, delivery, all of that. So showings will be brought directly to the home buyers.
I'm curious, raise your hand if you've purchased something off of Amazon this year. Oh, today. Yeah, this week. Interesting. I think that is really a thought process, right? Is like, how are we streamlining the client experience to make it so dang good? It's a wow factor, right? So Courtney? Jordana, awesome.
Okay. We talked about a lot of different things, but kind of the thing we landed on is Courtney and I were just kind of hushed over here talking. Our group didn't even hear it about how sometimes I think it gets like for me, I get really sick of the AI, the virtual things, the like everything is technology that I think in 5 years that we think it's still going to be like it's nice to have someone sit down with you and hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay and walk you through the home buying process. So
that's not to say that tech and AI isn't going to be important, that we're not going to be using it. But I do think that the younger generations, like I look at my young adults, they get so pissed when we like turn to AI or different things. And they like want us to just put it all down and just like talk to me kind of thing. So I really think, yes, we're going to be using that. We're going to be doing it. Like we've got to have our AI systems. We have to have the staging. We're going to be having different ways to tour homes. But really at the end of the day, I think there's actually going to be more demand for the personal experience face to face.
And I will die on that. That's my hill.
Can I play devil's advocate with you guys?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Has anybody purchased a car through Tesla before? A few of you. Do you go into Tesla and sit down with the sales representative for 2 hours and haggle and negotiate over price and go through this whole sales experience? It's about a 6-minute process on your phone. You order the phone and they say, we have it scheduled for delivery. You'll pick it up this day, this time. And then when you go to pick up the car, it's about a 5-minute experience. Still might want to test drive. The difference though, what I'm pointing out is I've purchased a couple cars through Tesla and it's a phenomenal client experience, even though it's not totally human first. There are humans involved, and when you go there, they're super kind and nice. But I just want to say that there's going to be 2 types of clients in your database. You need to be aware of both.
Sure.
Some of them, I want the efficiency, and that is my enhanced client experience, right? So just be aware that in our processes, we have to figure out how do we streamline it so it is the Amazon. Why do all of you raised your hand to buying something on Amazon when you could go to Walmart and get customer service?
But wouldn't you say that a home is more nuanced than the things that you can just buy online? Like with structural components, like what if we were saying, okay, yeah, we're going to go to the loan process in 10 days. What about due diligence? Like what happens if there's a foundation that's cracked?
Yeah, here's what I'm thinking through is the client journey, right?
Right. The journey. Yeah.
There's pieces of the home buying process that should have, like, for example, a home inspection. I wouldn't want to just buy a home sight unseen, right? And hit the button and buy it online. That's not what I'm saying with that part. I would rather meet the agent there and let's go through a home inspection. You tell me what's wrong, give me some strategic advice. But what's going to happen is the buyer still and the seller, they're still going to say what the agents did 10 years ago is not nearly as much, like they don't have to do as much today. They just showed up at the home inspection. They just did this, but all the other pieces I did through AI or I did through other pieces. So what I really want us to mastermind on here and think through is just how do we need to shift the value proposition, right? How we're presenting value to clients, because I just think we're going to be in a different world. So I'm not saying that I'm right by any means. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Well, you definitely have to have your AI follow-up systems, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that could be.
Because, yeah.
So are you arguing that really we need to find a way to stay relevant?
Yes. And just know that there's some clients who will want more relationship. So it's more of awareness. That's what it is. Being aware that there's going to be multiple personality styles in your database, that you have to be able to be flexible for both. You have to be streamlined for the client who wants that and figure out what that looks like in your business. And then for the client who wants to lean into relationships and they're leaning away from technology and AI, you've got to be ready for them as well. So I think it's not a either or, it's a both.
Right, because even the person who wants to lean into the personal relationships are still going to want the seamless tech stuff.
Streamlined behind the scenes experience, for sure. Yes. So we're going to move on to the next topic, which seems like all of you put AI on your board. So this is perfect alignment with this, is AI and the human advantage. So this goes deeper on what we're talking about right now. If AI handles most of the research, the writing, the admin, marketing, prep, transaction management, what will clients still need and pay a great agent to do? So if those things are streamlined heavily by AI, what will clients still need and pay a great agent to do? Some additional thought joggers is which human skills grow more valuable as AI improves? How should agents use the time AI gives back? How do we transition from being paid for tasks to being paid for judgment? And then what should agents stop doing manually? Okay, so just a little bit more purposeful on the topic of AI. Okay, so 5 minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with this front group first, with this one. We're going to start with this front group. Is it Jordana again? Spencer? Spencer's speaking for this one.
Hello.
What did you guys discuss? What broke through?
Let's see. I went to the bathroom. Let's see. We discussed, okay, so emotional intelligence is going to be important because there's always, like with the heaviest transaction and lots of money, emotions are always attached to high dollar amounts. So either way, whatever AI can do, there's always going to be high emotions in these kind of high stakes situations. So helping people get through that emotionally is going to be a big one. Communicating and negotiating hard conversations that AI can't have with the other party, with the other agent, with contractors maybe that aren't doing their job, like going in like boots on the ground, having these hard conversations to push things through that AI simply can't have those with somebody. And then advocating, accountability, doing grunt work, even though we said like maybe we don't want to be doing a lot of that. That could be part of it, just doing boots on the ground type stuff. And then just being a connector for our clients. So, I'm the point of contact for this contractor, or I'm the point of contact. I bring value through my network, or I'm the point of contact for off-market, properties or things that you can't find on AI. Because my network is so big, I have options for you, client.
That's strategic. Love it. Finding stuff that to the client, right, is valuable that maybe they won't have access to online. It's a great piece. Awesome. We'll do this group next.
Title. So what we talked about was what will clients still need? And that is kind of like experience and expertise, like already knowing what's going to happen. I've already dealt with this before. This is the best route that we can take to deal with this. And AI might not even understand. Like AI will grow, but not to the point where experience will beat it. Judgment. So being able to kind of judge the situation and letting them know like this is what we can do. Part of that was also connections. So connection and judgment we kind of combined. So it's like at a listing appointment, they needed carpet. So she was like, perfect. We need carpet. We need to do this. We need to do roof. We need to do this. And she already had all those connections already ready. And they were already booked between when she went to the buyer consult. So listing. So there was that. Guidance and reassurance for sure. And then agents will net more and save more time. So
awesome.
That's kind of, yeah.
Great. What I hear from that is the client experience, right? The experience is what is important for us to focus on is, are we designing what that experience feels like for clients, even in an AI world?
You wanted to, okay.
Well, she gave a story of a lawyer that used AI to submit his brief and he got sued because the information was inaccurate. So question is, can AI get a real estate license? I guess if that day comes, then we're going to have a problem if AI is allowed to get a real estate license. But then I don't think AI is ever going to, again, we're repeating, but it's never going to replace a human experience. I just don't think it will. But we have to keep learning to use AI because it is going to help us so we can give more of ourselves, our human experience, and use it for the things so we can give that better human experience.
Had something that happened on the way here. Eve? Eve, I am going to make her talk. Eve had something happen on the way here that's kind of relevant to this conversation.
So I have a fairly new car and I got a rock chip on my way here. It really ticked me off. And so while we were starting the meeting, I was trying to make an appointment with Safe Light so that I could just zip over there afterwards. It was not easy. And I finally gave up. I just went, I'm just going to go down there.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was just, they sent me here with your insurance, with your policy. I'm just going down there.
Yeah.
So
The client experience matters.
Yeah.
Like more than anything, that's the one thing we should optimize for.
Okay, so we thought of a couple different things, some of the things that have already been mentioned. Jared brought up the solving of complex issues. I think this really plays into the AI. You got to understand that in order to use AI effectively, you have to know how to utilize it. AI is not a person. There's someone behind the desk that's operating it. And so being able to look at the AI and then be able to actually solve the different complex issues utilizing the tools that you have is going to be an important element. I think a lot of the value, everyone's going to be using AI. So when you say, well, I use AI, no one's going to really, everyone does that. Yeah, I could do it, but how to actually optimize it and utilize it in the real estate sphere and showing clients like, listen, everyone uses AI, but let me show you exactly how I can tweak it specifically to your house and how we can target your audience and your market. I think it's how you're utilizing the AI and what you're learning. And so one of the values we need to learn is how to, what kind of puts us above other people is that ability to be able to utilize the AI while also maintaining that human connection, because you're going to have to sell the idea in order to get the listing, or with buyers to help them understand why utilizing you for buying a home would be valuable. And then just providing that concierge service, making sure that you're doing the follow-ups, check-ins, utilizing AI for that, building it where it's not a hard experience, where it's very simple, where if someone doesn't want to use it, then they can opt out and they can call you. I mean, there's going to be some people, like Shoni said, that are like, I just want to get the AI. I don't want to have to talk to anybody. There are people like that. And there's other people that want to say, I want to just skip the AI and just move forward. Mm-hmm. But you have to look at both routes. So those are some of the different things that we thought of.
Great. Yeah, Terry.
Well, I think with the increase of fraud that we're getting, I'm not sure how AI handles that. I think for us, we are learning all the different fraudsters, the scams, the tricks, all of that. And personally, I've had to use my experience to avoid my clients getting ripped off. So that, to me, the whole fraud thing is invaluable.
Yeah. I want to kind of just collectively just what I'm hearing from all of this. How many of you have a vision board or have a goal of traveling somewhere that's like a cool destination? Throw out some names of where. Tahiti, that'd be awesome. Italy, Japan, New Zealand, Norway. Okay. Now, do you think that we can go on YouTube right now and find videos, tours of all of those places? Right? Would that be the same experience as actually going and visiting those locations? No, not at all. Right? And so I think that's where we're going to be in this world where there is this easy button, but we still have to make sure that we on the back end are saying, how do we actually make this an experience for clients? I think we're going to move more into an experiential servicing and kind of that concierge approach. And that's where I think there's stuff that agents are going to do that may not even be things that we're thinking of right now for the clients during a transaction that makes the experience itself so much greater. Have any of you been on a vacation before where something didn't go as planned and it kind of throws like some bad energy into the experience, right? Like the flight gets delayed or the hotel lost your reservation or something weird, right? And there's moments like that in our client experience where you may not even recognize it, that it creates friction for them. They may not vocalize it to you, but it's not a 10 out of 10 experience. And so I would just say, be curious about some of those pain points that clients might feel during your current transaction experience and say, how can we streamline that and really make it an over the top experience for them? So we don't have enough time to get to the third topic, but I am going to just, I'll leave this on the screen so you can take a photo. I'd recommend even just spending time on your own to go through this topic, which is if you were forced to cut your working hours in half. So you can only spend 50% of the time you currently do, but you still had to hit your exact same income goals. How would you structure your business different from today? So what would you do differently? And that's a great exercise to go through on your own of just saying, where do I need to really become more effective and efficient with my time and where I'm spending my time? Okay. So we're going to get lunch set out, but just want to really quickly, as we wrap this up, what are 2 or 3 ahas from this conversation today? What awareness did you gain? What ideas did you catch? Yeah.
Same thing. You can't go on that vision board vacation from home. You're not going to have that same experience. And that to me was just like my brain exploded. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to be afraid of this. I think we just need to be excited about it.
Yeah. Great perspective.
I think too, it helped reiterate that I really need to like hyper focus on the client experience. We go through, so many transactions that things are just, the next thing to us, the next step. But how many times are we asking them, how are you feeling and how do you feel? Because that's really what we want to know, right? If they're feeling, amazing and loving it, then, good job on that part. But they're obviously going to bring up points where, well, this part, I wasn't sure. Or when they show doubt, I don't know. Those are places to take notes and write and figure out what we can do to make it better.
Yeah. Yep. Love it. Sheila?
I just loved on one of the slides it said judgment versus tasks. And I thought that's where it's at because AI is going to take over all the tasks, but we are still here to make good judgments. And as you read something or somebody gets information and they come to you and go, well, I heard that I was reading online this and I was reading online this, to have someone actually say to them, well, this is reality and let's move in this direction, or yes, your information that you found is good information, great job, that reassurance, that just kind of holding someone's hand to make them feel like they're so smart, they found all this information, you did great, let's move forward with this. So it's like that judgment. So focus on all the tasks that we do so that we have way more fun in our jobs and get to hang out with clients more.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So what I want to say is this: do not miss team meeting next week. Okay. We're going to mastermind specifically. Well, not mastermind. I'm actually going to show you one thing that I think is going to be a component over the next 3 to 5 years is hyper personalization of resources or tools that make it very helpful for a client to make effective decisions. And so what I mean by that is, how many of you have like a first-time home buyer's guide or a 7 steps to selling your home in 90 days guide, or some sort of playbook or resources that you give out to clients, right? I think that we're moving to a place where you can actually build custom apps or resources in about 5 to 7 minutes and give those to clients to give them a very awesome experience, but it's custom to whatever their unique situation is, right? And so next week, I'm going to show you how you can build some resources for clients to be very effective. And you can think through the different avatars, right? Your buyers, your sellers, investors. My recommendation would be to say, I'm going to build some tools that I can give out to sellers. I can give out to investors. I can give out to buyers as value adds. I think that's the immediate win with AI right now. I think we're going to evolve, but right now, I think that's going to be the unique strategy 2026 and 27 that not most agents are doing. Most people are doing, here's the normal playbook or guide, but these are going to be interactive tools that you can give to a client that enhances their experience. So next Tuesday during team meeting, I'll show you exactly how to build those. Cool? Okay. Bobby, let's give our lunch sponsor 2 minutes and then we'll break for lunch and hope you guys have a great week.